Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were talking about the Ray Rice situation. For those of you who don't know, I actually went to school with Ray Rice. Not just like, oh, he went to the same school as me and we were different years or whatever. I think he was either my grade or he may have been one grade above me, but I saw him all the time. So with the whole thing that he did, everybody in New Rochelle, where I grew up, we were all like face-palming. Like, oh, Ray, what have you done, man? Oh, Ray, what have you done? You let us down. Don't do that. So Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were talking about the Ray Rice situation, and he basically knocked out his wife, seemingly, and he's only getting a 2-game suspension from the NFL. Little light on the punishment, if you ask me. So they get on the issue of domestic violence, and Stephen A. says this.
We keep talking about the guys. We know you have no business putting your hands on a woman. I don't know how many times I got to reiterate that. But as a man who was raised by women, see, I know what I'm going to do if somebody touches a female member of my family. I know what I'm going to do. I know what my boys are going to do. I know what I'm going to have to remind myself that I work for the worldwide leader. I'm going to have to get law enforcement officials involved because of what I'm going to be tempted to do. But what I've tried to employ the female members of my family, some of who you all met and talked to and what have you, is that, again, and this is what I've done this all my life, let's make sure we don't do anything to provoke wrong actions. Because if I come or somebody else come, whether it's law enforcement officials, your brother, or the fellas that you know, if we come after somebody has put their hands on you, it doesn't negate the fact that they already put their hands on you. So let's try to make sure that we can do our part in making sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Stephen A. So the internet blew the fuck up with this. Now, to be fair, he actually went on to make like 9,716 caveats, like saying, no, look, domestic violence is always wrong, it's always wrong, it's always wrong, it's always wrong, but, and then he would say, well, look, don't provoke it. And then when he saw that this blew up, he went on Twitter and did a long response where he said, look, I repeatedly said that domestic violence is always wrong, so stop pretending like I'm blaming the woman. I'm not blaming the woman. So, look, let's try to be as objective as possible about this. Yes, Stephen A. sugarcoated it in the sense that he did 9,000 caveats, right? He hedged a lot. That clip that I just showed you is a small portion. He goes on and on and on, and on Twitter he went on and on and on, right? And you could read that full context. We don't need to bring it up here. But I just want to explain to Stephen A., I don't think he meant bad by it, and I don't think he meant what it appears like he meant by it. But let me just explain to him why everybody's outraged and why what he said is a little ridiculous. It's not a 50-50 proposition. He makes it seem like we're doing like a false equivalence here. Like we're saying, oh, we always talk about the guy. Why don't we talk about the women too a little bit and just talk about them not provoking? Because that's part of the conversation too. And the response is, no, it's not. Shouldn't be a part of the conversation at all. That's not allowed in the conversation. For the same reason that, when somebody says, oh, that girl got raped, how was she dressed? A short skirt, looking kind of slutty. So what do you expect to happen? This idea that, well, obviously a man can't control himself and he's going to, I have to rape you because you're dressed a certain way. It's ridiculous to talk about the female dress at all. At all. Why? Because we live in a free society. And to act in accordance with your freedom, acting in a completely legal way, dressing how you want, does not give license to a rapist to rape you. By the same token, if you, and I'm sure this is what he's referring to, if a woman raises her voice, or if a woman speaks back, or if a woman says something that gets under the guy's skin and makes him, angry and acts a certain way, right? Or is a little too drunk or whatever. The idea that can even be spun to be perceived as a provocation, there's never a provocation for violence against a woman, because violence against a woman is always wrong. If a woman is, whether she's arguing with the guy or acting a certain way that he doesn't like, It's totally legal and it's totally within her rights and her freedom to act that way. The only wrongdoing is on the guy doing the violence. And that's the bottom line. That's why to have this conversation and try to make it a 50-50 thing, like, well, let's talk about the women too. No, let's not. Let's not talk about that. Because victims of domestic violence are victims of domestic violence. And to say, like, well, let's be careful here and don't provoke you getting your ass beat, it's a silly comment to make. It really is a silly comment to make.